Good day, folks, and welcome back to Ed's Garage. Today I want to talk about the 2023 Santa Fe Luxury Hybrid. Yes, this is the hybrid trim level. Now, in Canada, this is actually the highest trim for the hybrid models. Of course, with the Santa Fe, if you want to go with the top trim, you need to go with a non-hybrid, and it's called a calligraphy. Now, with the 2023, there isn't a whole lot of changes between the 23 and the 22, but there were a couple changes from the 22 to the 21. But basically, I just want to go over the whole thing again, because it's now been a couple years since I've actually done a video on the Santa Fe Hybrid. The last one was a 2021. So if you're looking at a hybrid Santa Fe, I hope this video helps you out. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below if you have any questions. And to see future videos, don't forget to hit the the bell icon so that you're notified on future videos. But anyway, let's get into it. So this, again, being the luxury trim, has as many features as you're going to get in a Santa Fe hybrid. But anyway, let's start with this one. So, starting at the front, you have LED headlights and high beams. They're a reflector type, but they're really good. You got the LED daytime running light here, which looks really cool with that sort of that T shape. Big, bold, beautiful, almost brushed steel look grille. And then underneath the license plate holder, you can see we've got a forward-facing radar system there for the autonomous braking, adaptive cruise control, that sort of thing. Going into the windshield here, you can see we've got the forward-facing camera. It's for the lane keep assist. It's also for autonomous braking, for pedestrian detection, cyclist detection, and junction detection as well. And then right above that, we have the sensor for the automatic wipers. Now, that camera also works it's also used for the lane guidance assistance. So that'll work at any speed if you press the little button on the steering, which I'll show you a little bit later. But at 64 kilometers an hour or higher, it'll work as well by default. That'll be just on. Now, if you're not sure what junction detection is, basically what it is if you're making a left turn, it'll detect vehicles coming towards you and prevent you from making that left turn if there's something coming, prevent an accident that way. All right, coming to the side of the vehicle, you can see we've got the beautiful 19-inch aluminum alloy rims. They're wrapped by a Continental cross-contact mud and snow rated tire. So these are a 235/55, and again 19-inch, really nice looking wheels. Going a little bit further down here, you can see we've got on the mirror, we've got a blind spot monitor indicator there, and of course marker lights on the mirrors. That's for the turn signals. Manually folding mirrors on this one. Now, they do have an A-pillar window here, which is nice. That eliminates a little bit of blind spot, so mirrors mounted on the door. We do have proximity entry there, and there's also a little light that comes on when you approach the vehicle. A little further around to the back here, you can see we've got backup sensors right here and hidden exhaust pipe, so you won't see the exhaust pipe on this particular one. Backup camera right there. Of course, it does have the rear wiper. Now, one of my favorite features on any vehicle that Hyundai makes is the smart tailgate. So if we stand here without pressing any buttons at all, 4 seconds later, as long as we have the key in our pocket, the tailgate opens up. It does, of course, have the adjustable height and the button here to lower the tailgate back down. So you can just set the max height by adjusting it manually, holding that for a few seconds, and then it'll remember that position. All right, looking at the trunk space on this one, about 1,000 liters of space, just under. Lots of room here. You do have the grocery organizer, which is nice. So you can kind of roll that back. Lots of spots to put stuff. Underneath this one here, you can see we've got the 12-volt accessory battery, a little bit of storage there, and of course the jack, because this is actually one of the few hybrids that comes with a spare tire, which actually hangs out underneath the vehicle right there. And you can just wheel that down to the ground using a little plug that's inside there. On the right-hand side, a little bit of storage here for whatever. You've also got the buttons on the wall here to fold down the seats, and now it is a 60/40 split rear bench. So there you can see we put one of the seats down. Got the 12-volt port here as well, and the spots to mount a privacy cover. Now, the privacy cover basically can mount in either of these two spots because, of course, these seats can recline. All right, let's go around to the back seats. All right, having a look at the rear door first. One thing I want to point out is that the doors actually go all the way down to the bottom of the rocker panel, and it's actually got a little rubber gasket there to keep this nice and clean. So when you're getting in and out of the vehicle, you don't get dirty pant legs. Got a little bit of neat finishing on the speakers here. Now this one does just have the 8-speaker audio system, nothing fancy. You got heated seats back here, and for rear passengers, you get a retractable sunshade. Now I want to quickly put the seat down. I want to show you what happens here. When we fold the seat down, whether it's with the button in the back or using the handle here, you may notice that the actual seat base drops out of the way and gives us a nice flat floor, or well, relatively flat floor from the seat back to the cargo area. So loading in larger items makes it a little bit easier because of that. The other thing to point out is when you put the seat down, it actually locks into place. So you can see I can't lift it up right now. I need to release it by pulling this handle first, and then I should be able to pull it up. There we go. And the reason for that is because if you're going over bumpy roads or whatever, you don't want it bouncing around. The other cool thing with this vehicle is it does have the ability to move the seats forward and backwards. Let me get into the vehicle and show you that. Now, I can recline the seat. I can also move the seat forwards and backwards. Now, the front seat currently is back a bit further than normal because it has what's called easy access seating. So the seat actually moves back to make it easy to get it in and out of the car when you shut the car off. When you get back in, turn the car on, it moves forwards again. So currently it's in its reversed position, but you can see I still actually have quite a bit of room. This vehicle has tons of passenger space. You can notice I can even stick my feet underneath the seat, underneath the seat very easily, and still good legroom, good headroom. And I've also got a center cup holder armrest here, which does not flop down onto the seat, and it's cushioned, very, very comfortable. The seats themselves, nice leather interior, and quilted up on the top here, a really good look. And of course, more amenities. We've got the huge panoramic sunroof, as you can see, letting lots of light into the cabin, and also 2 USB ports down here. Nice hard seat backs, so the seats are well protected, and of course each one has a storage pocket. Lastly, I do want to point out it has vents back here as well, which you can completely close off. The left vent is connected to the driver settings for temperature, the right vent connected to the passenger settings for temperature. All right, let's have a quick look under the hood to see what powers the 2023 Santa Fe. One of the nice things about this vehicle is you can use one hand to open the hood. You don't need to put a prop stick up or anything like that. Very, very easy access. We have a 1.6 turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, makes 227 horsepower, 258 foot-pounds of torque. And that's the combined rating when you consider that it also has the electric motor in there as well, of course. The electric motor, of course, is underneath all of this stuff here. This is the electric motor controller, charge controller, that sort of thing. You've got coolant here for the electric motor as well, and then the coolant back here is for the gas engine. Now, this is also a smart stream engine, so it's very, very fuel efficient, mated to a 6-speed automatic. Nothing crazy about the automatic. It's not a dual clutch, it's not a CVT, just a good old-fashioned traditional bulletproof automatic transmission. With the sort of shift points that normally would lose a little bit of momentum as you're accelerating, the electric motor can actually fill in those gaps, so it doesn't really need a dual clutch or a CVT to be efficient. Overall efficiency rating on this vehicle is about 7.4 liters per 100 kilometers on average, better in the city than it is on the highway, and that's actually a really easy number to achieve. Most of our clients actually do report a better fuel efficiency than what's rated on the window sticker, and that's because that window sticker rating is actually put up by a third party. It's not actually done by Hyundai Canada or Hyundai USA or wherever it is you're watching this from. So 7.4 liters per 100K for a vehicle this size is actually awesome. The other thing to note under here is just the build quality. I mean, you can check this out. We've got plastic covering the sides here, the fenders. It's actually really, really well laid out, easy to work on, lots of space in front and behind the motor. You can see we've got some insulation here, that's some sound deadening and some protection for the firewall. Also have some sound deadening insulation on the hood, all buttoned up very tightly, which is nice. Easy access to the air filter, just those clips there, and that pops off. Pretty easy. Engine oil right there. Very easy to do some basic maintenance on this vehicle. The other thing we can see in here is the extensive use of structural adhesive. Now, Hyundai is one of those companies, one of the few companies that uses hundreds of feet of structural adhesive. This actually increases the strength of those welded joints by quite a bit. So when you have lots of structural adhesive, you can bet that the vehicle's got really good rigidity. The other nice thing about Hyundai Santa Fe is that it's got about 68% overall advanced high-strength steel construction, also making it very rigid as far as, going around twisties, going over bumps, that sort of thing. And this overall creaks and squeaks as the vehicle ages are definitely eliminated, nearly eliminated by the fact that it has a lot of that structural adhesive and high-strength steel. All right, next thing I want to talk about is the remote start. So one of the nice things about Hyundai remote start systems is that once you've started the vehicle, you don't need to get in and then start it a second time. Let me show you what I mean. So the car is now running. I know it doesn't sound like it because the engine hasn't started up, but being a hybrid, it doesn't need to necessarily right away. I'm going to go ahead and open up the door here, and we'll jump in. Now, it's recognizing that the key is in the vehicle, so as soon as I put my foot on the brake, there we go. It comes to life. You can see my seat is, well, I don't know if you caught that, but the seat moved forward into the last position that I had it in, and everything came to life. Now, the reason that I mention that is because with pretty much every other brand, when you get into the vehicle, you still have to push the start button or turn the key to get it to fully acknowledge that you're ready to go. Hyundai's basically said, okay, well, when you get into the car, it detects the key is there, so we may as well just fire up. So that's how that works. Pretty cool. All right, so let's talk about some of the features in the 23 Santa Fe Luxury Hybrid. Starting with something that I want to point out on the roof line in the back of the vehicle. You see those three little holes back there? That is the ultrasonic system sensor. So ultrasonic sensors that detect the presence of pets and children in the vehicle. And what that does is when it detects something's in the vehicle and the vehicle's shut off, it'll actually send a reminder to your cell phone that you may have inadvertently left your child or your dog or whatever in the car. So it's trying to prevent, accidental death of children and pets. I think that's a pretty cool feature. So those ultrasonic sensors, they detect the presence of living things. Now, it also has a feature whereby when you open up the rear doors and then you go shut the car off, it'll actually remind you to check the rear seats as well. So it remembers the rear door being opened after you've started the car and driven and shut the car off. So a pretty cool feature, and that's not exclusive to Hyundais anymore, but I haven't seen these sensors in other brands yet, so I imagine some of the higher-end luxury vehicles probably have them as well. Now, that also includes, or that's part of a system called BlueLink, so you get BlueLink for free in Canada anyway for 3 years. BlueLink is our telematics system, so what BlueLink does, aside from that, is it also provides you the means to remote start the car from your cell phone, unlock the doors, lock the doors, find it on a Google map if you've lost it in a parking lot or if the vehicle's been stolen. It also includes automatic emergency services calling if you get into an accident. And there's also a couple of buttons up here on the headliner to call for roadside assistance and an emergency assistance as well. All of that is, again, free in Canada for 3 years with the purchase of a new Hyundai that includes that technology. Right, starting on the left here, so we have the child safety lock mechanism. Now this does the windows and the doors. And another cool thing with the child safety lock is utilizing the blind spot sensors. If you've just parallel parked the vehicle and there's a car about to come by, it actually keeps the rear door locked so that a child can't swing the door open into traffic. So that's pretty neat. We also have auto up and down on both of the front windows. So you press those, the window goes down automatically. Press it all the way up and the window goes up automatically. You don't have to hold the button. Got your mirror controls here, and then right above that we have our memories, settings for seats and mirrors and dash lighting, etc. Looking on the dashboard over here, we can see I got our dimmer switch. We have our lane departure system, lane departure warning system, as well as keep system. We got the button to open up the tailgate and the stability and traction control. And then right below that, we have our power e-brake. The power e-brake does disable automatically when you put it into drive or reverse, and it comes on automatically when you park on a hill. On the steering wheel itself, we got some paddles on the back of the steering wheel. That's for shifting gears. And then we got the turn signal stock here, which does have the one touch thing. So if you tap it, it'll flash a few times, or you can just use it as normal or hold it as normal. You do have automatic headlights and headlights on full all the time. You can leave it there. When you shut the car off, it turns them all off anyway. On the other side here, you can see we've got our windshield wiper washer control. It has the rear wiper, of course. The rear wiper is automatic, so if you set it up in such a way, you can actually have it come on automatically when your front wipers are on and you put the car into reverse. You also have automatic wipers, so when you set that, you'll notice it shows up in the screen here which setting you're on. It always does that when you adjust the wipers or the headlights as well, as a matter of fact. And it's automatic. It actually works really, really well. On the steering wheel itself, on the left-hand side here, we have all the controls for the multimedia system. So this entire section is for that screen. It doesn't control anything else. It's just for the multimedia system. So you got your voice recognition, your mode switch here. Now the mode switch switches between different sources of audio, and it's customizable. So the first time you press it, you actually get a prompt that asks you what you want it to control. There we go. So we got different sources of music here, and if you don't listen to like AM, then obviously you would never check that off. So that's kind of cool. By the way, the voice recognition is a dual function. So you got the built-in voice recognition. Find the nearest Walmart.
5 results found. Please say the
2.
lineup. Would you like
Yes. All right, so you don't necessarily have to wait for the voice prompt to finish talking. You can actually just overwrite or interrupt her, I guess is probably the best way to say it. So that's essentially how you use the built-in voice recognition. When your phone is connected via Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you can hold this button to access Siri or the Google Assistant. So that's the dual functionality of that. Right below that, you have the volume control, and the volume control is also a mute button. So if you press it inwards, it mutes. If you press it up and down, it increases or decreases volume. This one right here is to go to the next or previous preset, and it's the next or previous song when you're listening to music from your cell phone or from a USB flash drive or something like that. You got your answer button, hang up button, and on the other side we have controls for the cruise control, which is right here, and these two buttons control everything on that screen, which I'll get to in a moment, and then our lane guidance assistance for low speed. So at speeds below 64 kilometers an hour, if you want lane guidance on, you need to press that button, and that puts a little icon up here in the top of the instrument cluster. Okay, for cruise control, so you turn on cruise, you set it with this button here. All right, so right now we're not moving, which is why I just got a warning. You can increase the speed at which it's set, decrease the speed. You can also pause it and resume it by pressing in that button. And then this button changes the distance that you're following the car in front of you. So that's your adaptive cruise configuration there. Now, these two buttons, as I mentioned, were for this screen. So let's go over some of the stuff there. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this top button here to scroll through from left to right. You'll notice the icons along the top of the screen there. So as I keep pressing that button, it scrolls from the left to the right. We're going to start at the very left here, and we're going to look at the different items in there. To do that, I'm going to use this button to go up and down through those menus, and it's also an OK button if I press it in. So this button has a push-in, and these two buttons have a push-in. This one does not. I can push it all I want. It doesn't do anything. So just a heads up. All right, so let's look at the different screens here. So this is the first screen. This is our driving assistance information screen. So basically showing our lane keep assistance at the moment. I can drop it down, shows me the attention level. So this vehicle will actually recognize if you are getting tired and suggest maybe taking a break if there's been a lot of jerky steering inputs and stuff like that. Bump it over once, we have our drive info. So drive info is the current trip, the current average liters per 100 kilometers, and how long the vehicle's been running for. And that's since you turned the car on. So that's what that is. Right below that, we have since the last refueling. So we're going to reset that. By the way, guys, all of these numbers are going to be inaccurate because these vehicles kind of sit on the lot for a long time running while we're showing them off. So the fuel economy is not going to be accurate initially. Also, as the vehicle ages, after, within its first year, fuel economy tends to improve a bit. We'll go down, we got our accumulated info. So again, obviously this gets better than 15.8 liters per 100 kilometers. We're going to go ahead and reset that one. So that's like your trip A, trip B kind of thing. We have our idle mode. So this is basically just showing, it's not idle mode, but it's showing where power is coming from and going to. So if I put the car into reverse, let me see here. Maybe I can get this to do something. There we go. So you can see where energy is coming from and going to. So there we go. Move forward again. All right, so that's what that is. And the last screen in here is our digital speedometer. This can also be changed to miles per hour in the settings in here. So I'll get to that a little bit later. Let's bump it over to the next screen to the right. Certainly it's showing our turn-by-turn directions. Now, if we don't have a route in the navigation system, I'll cancel the route here. There we go. Now we have our compass. So that's where we can see the compass. And that's the only thing within this screen. So we'll bounce over to the right, and we have now our all-wheel drive information. So this is where power is actually going to. So if I put the car into drive, you'll notice give a little bit of gas. There we go. So power will go to all four wheels under any sort of acceleration, and then tapers off to front wheel drive in order to save gas. So that's a predictive all-wheel drive system. H-Track uses over 50 sensors to monitor road conditions and adjust the all-wheel drive systems as needed. And I'm going to show you the different drive modes in a bit here as well. We're going to look at the other screen first. So this is our tire pressure monitor, which of course will give you PSI ratings for each of the tires as you start to drive. And then lastly, we have our engine temperature. I get a lot of comments on my YouTube channel saying, oh, there's nothing that tells you what the engine temperature is. Well, this one does have engine temperature, which is kind of nice. All right, so let's look at the different drive modes. So currently we're in eco mode, and you can see that on the bottom right. Now, our hybrid vehicles will automatically default to eco mode, but if I put it into sport mode, check it out, the screen changes, it looks cool. And if I put it into smart mode, it changes again into a different look. So that's basically changing what the instrument cluster looks like, but also sport mode gives you a little bit more low-end torque, keeps the engine on longer, and also tightens up the steering wheel. Smart mode will adjust accordingly depending on how you're driving. We also have different terrain modes, so I'm going to move over to this button here so you can see what I'm doing. If I press the terrain mode button and then immediately turn it, oh, I was a little bit too late, immediately turn it, now I'm on snow. We've also got mud and sand. Now, those things are going to actually clamp down on the center differential. So if we have, if we're in snow mode, for instance, it's going to lock the center differential to give power to the front and rear right away, so that you have a better grip in the snow. It's also going to adjust the traction control, stability control, and it's going to start up in second gear for a little bit more control. But for now, we'll put it back into Eco Drive. All right, just a quick explanation of some of the things that you're seeing on the screen here. So if we look on the left-hand side, you'll notice there's a little green car with arrows on it. That's just to tell us that the car is on and ready to go. So it's basically giving you an indication that the car is on, because of course the engine is not running when when the vehicle is at a standstill most of the time. So you might not know you're ready to go. So that's what that is. Now we've got our regular speedometer here. We've got our fuel gauge, and it's got a little arrow saying, okay, your fuel door is on the left-hand side. This is your range until the vehicle is empty out of gas. We've got our temperature, exterior temperature. We have our instant fuel economy here. Of course, what gear we're in, the lighting that's currently turned on. Currently, it's showing that we have the lane keep assist for low speed and high speed on, and the vehicle is in electric vehicle mode. You cannot set that manually. Basically, the car is doing that on its own. On this side here, instead of a tachometer, we have our power meter. So when you're accelerating, this needle is going to go into eco. If you're accelerating hard, it's going to go into power. And when you're decelerating, it's going to show in that you're charging the battery, because of course it uses regenerative braking to charge the battery. Right here we have the battery level. Now you don't have to necessarily be worried about this because it's all automatic. The car is going to change and adjust things as needed. Down on the bottom right, we have our speedometer, and currently we're in eco mode. So if I put it into sport mode or smart mode, right now the only thing that's really changing is the look. However, you can also set it up to have a tachometer on this side, and that's in the vehicle settings as well. All right, looking over at the center console, we have the actual console storage down here with a little shelf that you can put in right here, just like that. And it's pretty big, lots of space in there. Got two cup holders, one hidden, one not. So there's the hidden cup holder. We have our wireless charger. Now the cool thing about this wireless charger is it's got this little flap. I don't know if you can see that on the video here, but it kind of forces your phone up against the charger, and it's ventilated. It's a 15-watt ventilated charger. It keeps your phone nice and cool while charging. The indicator for the charger, the USB port that connects directly to the stereo, that's for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, the cup holder there, and of course you can cover all of that stuff up. Underneath the console, you have some extra storage here with a 12-volt outlet and a USB port for the passenger to charge their phone, and it is backlit as well. And then looking a little bit up, you have our ventilated seat, heated seats for driver, and ventilated heated seats for the passenger. The shift-by-wire transmission controls, these are great because when you take your seatbelt off and open up the door, it quickly puts it into park for you. And if you shut the car off, it does the same, puts it into park for you. And it also frees up all that extra storage space underneath there. We have our auto hold button, which will stop the vehicle from moving. When you come to a stop and lift your foot off the brake, the car just won't move until you press the accelerator. The heated steering wheel, of course, the drive modes, which we went over. You've got hill descent assist, which works up to 40 kilometers an hour. When you're going downhill, you'd let your foot off the brake. It'll maintain your descent speed. We have your backup sensors here, which we can turn off simply by pressing that button. And we have the camera button. So let's have a quick look at the camera system. So if I put the vehicle into reverse, we now have our dynamic steering lines, and you can also see the backup sensor. Warning lights will come up here when you get close to an object. One thing you can do, which is kind of cool, you can actually have a top-down view. So that's great if you're needing to back up to a trailer hitch or something like that. And you can also go into settings and change some of the settings for the backup camera. We're going to turn off the extended view, and here's where you can also change the brightness and contrast and whatnot. All right, so looking above that, we have our climate control. This is one of the things I really like about the Santa Fe is the layout here is fantastic. Seats, drive systems, climate control, stereo. It's all very nicely laid out and separated. So climate control, we have our driver side climate level, temperature level, passenger side temperature level. We have 3 layers of automatic. So if you don't want to have the fans blowing on you directly or whatever, you just want it a little bit weaker, you can actually reduce the level of intensity by putting that on level 1. So it still gets to temperature, it just takes a little bit longer. You also have a driver only option if you want to completely shut off the entire right side of the car's climate control system. You can do so to save energy and fuel. Now you of course do have the option to set the climate manually and all that stuff. However, if you do so, it no longer will be on auto, of course. The recirculate here is pretty cool. When you, let's go into climate here so I can show you what the setting is. But when you put on your washer fluid, it can actually automatically recirculate the air so you don't have to smell the washer fluid. It's pretty neat. You also have auto dehumidify and auto defrost. And you can also see in this screen here what the temperatures are all on. But you'll notice you can't actually set them. You have to use the controls down here to do so. So when I move the control up, you can see there it's coming up on the screen. Now, if you don't have the climate screen up, so if I go back into, let's say, radio here, and I change the temperature, it shows up on the right-hand side there. So you'll always see that when you change the temp, but if you want to see what's going on with the climate system, you can press that climate control button to bring up a real-time view of exactly what's happening with the climate system. All right, we're going to talk about the stereo a little bit later. We're going to skip that for now, and we're going to have a look at the backup mirror here. So the rear view mirror, it is auto dimming, and it's got 3 buttons on the bottom here for home link, so that's for your garage door buttons and whatnot. And you notice when you press it, it actually shows up a little picture of a house with the light flashing, so that's just to indicate that that button's not been set up yet. Looking further up, we can see our buttons for Blue Link, so SOS, a call for emergency assistance, and the roadside assistance button there. We've got buttons for all the interior lighting, so when the doors open, or your map lights, or all the lights on all the time, and then the control for the sunroof. Now that sunshade, by the way, can be stopped anywhere along the way, and you can also open up the actual glass here, and look at how wide this opens up. Check this out. So not only is it a huge panoramic sunroof, but it opens up very, very wide as well. All right, lastly, let's talk about the center screen. So starting with the home screen, so we have our, I'll show you why it's called the home screen, guys, just first off. So here's the home button, and here's a home button. So home takes us here, okay? We have our time, our current media information, mapping system, and if I tap in one of those locations, it takes me to the thing that we were just looking at, okay? So this is a semi-functional screen. Swipe over gives us the home screen. We have our hybrid menu. And here you can see where energy is coming and going to. We can go to our average fuel economy, how much the electric motor is being used, that sort of thing. We could reset it from here as well. And then hitting the bottom half of this doesn't matter. It's the same thing, right? So this is one section. This is another section. Just brings that up full screen. All right, that's all that's in there. Map, of course, takes us to the map screen. Now, map, by the way, you can have it in 3-dimensional view as well. As it gets dark outside, this will switch to a night mode, which is kind of cool. And there's also an HD traffic option. So if you have HD radio data, it'll actually give you traffic information. Currently, the service is not available. I'm honestly not really sure why this is sometimes available and sometimes isn't, but it's based on HD radio data information. So I'm guessing it's something to do with the FM channels, HD radio info. Currently, there just isn't any, so that's too bad. So if we go into fuel prices, same sort of thing. Doppler radar, same sort of thing. But sometimes you will actually get that info. Now, what's cool about this vehicle is you can get that info from there, or you can also get it from Blue Link. So Blue Link, for instance, we have the weather information, Once BlueLink is set up, we'll be able to see what the current weather looks like and what the forecast looks like, and we'll also get traffic information for the mapping system from there as well. As for right now, unfortunately, I can't show you that because neither of those things is available. But yeah, that's the map. The nav menu here allows you to put in an address or find a point of interest, add your home address, work address, and different favorites. Pretty simple, really, really easy to do. Your home screen or phone screen takes you to where you can dial a phone number or find a contact. But remember, of course, you can do that by voice as well. Phone projection will be Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which on this vehicle is wired. Now, do I understand or know why they don't have wireless on these yet? No, I don't. Rumor has it it's because the software company that makes the software for the built-in navigation system just hasn't enabled wireless Android Auto Apple CarPlay yet. I got a quick trick for you though. For about 50 to 60 bucks, you can get a little dongle that plugs into the USB port and basically provides you with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And that way, of course, you can use the wireless charging station here for your phone, and you don't have to worry about plugging it in for those things. So don't ask why it doesn't have it. No idea. We've been waiting for Hyundai to add that for a long time now, and it just doesn't look like it's ever going to happen. Well, I'm sure it's going to happen eventually, but for now, there is no wireless Android Auto Apple CarPlay unless you have the 8-inch screen in the lower trim levels. That does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Anyway, getting back to this one here. So voice memo allows you to record your voice, play it back later. Climate takes you to the climate screen I showed you earlier. Valet mode will limit access to the vehicle's information, privacy information, that sort of thing. Only works with BlueLink. Quiet mode, basically what that does is it shuts off the rear speakers and lowers the volume of the front speakers. So if you have kids sleeping in the back. The radio takes you to the radio screen. All your presets are on the left-hand side here, and you'll notice that FM, AM, and satellite presets can all be in the same list, which is kind of cool. Over on this screen, we have media. Media allows you to go into any source of radio or music, okay, including sounds of nature. Now, let's see if they have the newer sounds of nature on here. So we've got... No, we don't. Okay, so we got lively forest, calm sea waves, rainy day, open air cafe, warm fireplace, and snowy village. So with updates, they'll add more things to this, but basically this lets you experience different sounds of nature. So currently we're listening to a warm fireplace. If we switch to rainy day. So yeah, if you just want to be a little bit more zen in your vehicle, that is what that is. Okay, and then we also have BlueLink information here, which we talked about a moment ago. Notifications also part of BlueLink, and the user manual. If you want to see a digital copy of the user manual, you can scan that with your phone, and it brings up a digital user manual. What's really cool about that, though, is if you, let's say you go to the hybrid screen and you go to the menu, and then you go user manual on web, it'll take you directly to the hybrid section of the electronic user manual, so you don't have to search there. Search through your phone or search through your manual. It just takes you right to that location. It's pretty cool. All right, last thing here is setup. Now, there is a ton of stuff in here. I'm going to go into vehicle first off and just show you the different things that you can actually set up. So we have driver assistance. Now, there's lots of safety features on this vehicle. So if we tap one of those ones, now we're looking at all of the different driver assistance functionality. So we're going to put that on fast for smart cruise control reaction. So when the car in front of you slows down or speeds up, this car will, it'll adjust accordingly in a more quicker fashion. We have warning timing, which we'll leave on standard. We have warning methods. So you can see here, driver safe priority lowers all other volumes when driving safe system sounds a warning. So if your blind spot monitor beeps at you, it'll also lower the stereo volume. We can also put that for when you are parking. So if you put the vehicle into reverse, it'll lower the audio of the music that you're listening to. We have driver attention warning, so leading vehicle departure alert, and inattentive driver warning, which I was talking about earlier. This one's pretty cool, though. If the car in front of you starts to drive off and you haven't started moving yet, it'll give you a little warning that, hey, you can go. All right, so forward safety active assist. So basically, we can have it either give you a warning or turn it off, or actively assist in braking if you don't start braking when there's a car in front of you or pedestrian or whatever. We have our lane keep assistance, which also you can have just give you a warning, or you can turn it off completely. Under blind spot safety, you can see we got the safe exit assist, which I talked about earlier. We have active assistance, providing braking assistance if you start to go over the lane towards another car. It kind of uses the brakes on the opposite side. Again, you can turn that off or just have it on warning. Parking safety, so rear cross traffic safety provides warning and emergency braking when a risk of rear cross traffic collision is detected while reversing. So that's all pretty cool. Under Eco Vehicle here, you can see we have a coasting guide, which I don't particularly like, but that's what's in there. Under Cluster, we can see I have our illumination controls here, so we'll turn that up to bright. We have a blue light filter, which we're going to enable, turn that on. It's automatic when it gets dark outside. That's pretty cool. So it puts a blue light filter on this screen as well as the instrument cluster screen. I think I missed something here. So cluster theme selection, you can actually choose which cluster theme you want. If you don't want to have it, change with the drive mode, you can actually put it on whatever you want. Even cube, check out this cube thing. Yeah, that's crazy. But we're going to link that back to the drive mode here. Here's where we can enable our service interval. So we're going to do that real quick. So currently intervals on these vehicles are 8,000 kilometers or 8 months. So we're going to set that up. There we go. And here's where we can also reset our fuel economy or set the settings manually, or have it do it after refueling or after vehicle starts. We're going to put that on manual. We can also enable traffic signs on the instrument cluster, which is kind of cool. We can have the welcome sound come on, and we've also got an oil life reminder in there as well. Here's where you can change the climate control settings, which we already saw in the climate menu. Here's the seat settings. This is pretty cool. So seat easy access. You can have it set up so that it moves the seat back at an extended amount or normal amount, or you can stop it from doing that. So it's when you shut the car off, the seat will actually move backwards, like I was explaining earlier when I was in the back seat there. So that's pretty neat. Under lights, you can see we have our one-touch turn signal here, so we can set that to 5 flashes, which is what we want. We can have the welcome light turn on as you approach the vehicle. We've got high beam assistance on this vehicle as well. I forgot to mention that earlier. Under door, we can see we can enable and disable 2-press unlock. We can also change the settings for the power lift gate. And then under convenience, we have our rear occupant alert information. The wireless charging system for the cell phone is where we can enable and disable that. We're going to enable the auto rear wiper, of course. And then we also have auto shut off for the vehicle. So if you inadvertently leave the vehicle running because maybe you didn't hear the engine, just didn't think to shut it off, the car will shut itself off after 30 minutes of nothing happening. So that's kind of cool. So a good safety feature there. In the navigation settings here, you can actually have it display traffic info, the vehicle speed, of course, we want that on there. We want, let me see, under the guidance here, everything looks fine. Yep. So this is basically where you can go ahead and kind of customize everything to the way you want it. Here's where you can connect your phone up to Bluetooth, sorry. Also for phone projection settings, that's in here as well. So that's Apple CarPlay, Android Auto settings. You can also customize your user profile in this vehicle. So you can have multiple drivers. And you'll notice in the top left-hand corner here is a user profile button, and you can change users in there. That's for all the like stereo settings and brightness settings, contrast, all that stuff is part of the user profile. Screen layout is where you can change things like the screen saver. So if I shut the radio off now by holding the power button, you get a digital clock. If we prefer to have an analog clock, we can do that as well. So hold the power button down. There's our analog clock now, so that's what that is. We'll put that on digital. Split screen settings, so on a lot of the screens, so if I go to the map, for instance, we can split this, and we can see there's our multimedia, our weather, calendar, compass, so we can actually change what shows up in here. That's what we were just looking at in the screen layout, split screen settings. So you can actually change that. You can even move these around. So that's what that's for. And then we have display configuration, blue light filter. We were already looking at this earlier. There's just another way of getting to it. Our customizable buttons. So this button, for instance, is customizable. I'm going to select phone projection for that. So it's a quick and easy way to get back into Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Here's the mode button configuration, which I was talking about earlier. So that's what that is. And then our Blue Link settings and our general settings. This is where we can do firmware updates. So if I hit update right now, it's not going to do anything. But if I have a firmware update on a flash drive, I would put that flash drive into this USB port, and this is where I would find the update for that. This is also where you can find date and time settings. It's using GPS time, so it's always going to be pretty accurate. And you can also enable and disable daylight savings time here as well. And if you speak a different language, you can put it into French, Spanish, or Korean, I guess. And then we have the default keyboard layout there as well. Okay, so thank you for getting this far with me. I know there's a lot to talk about on this vehicle. It's so well equipped. It's always going to be a long video if you're trying to cover everything. But yeah, I think that is indeed everything. So if you have any questions or comments, don't forget to leave them below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if this video helped you out. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for getting this far. Until next time, have a great day.